lucky to have Gray here today. Mr. Wise, is that good?
Gray is good.
And he is the artist, and his assistant Michael is here to help. And they both have come during Celebrate the Arts Week. They're going to show you, okay, how to make these mythological beasts that you guys are about to take on. He's going to show you how he makes the parts and puts them together, so that while he's doing it, be thinking about your beast and how you can do this, okay? And he'll tell you what he makes things out of. He doesn't like go and buy a whole bunch of things. He uses what he has, and that would be called what? Recycled. All right, so we're not spending a lot of money doing other things. And then you'll see the products are just like, they're beautiful. And
good morning, everybody. Good morning. As she said, my name is Gray, and what I used to cope with was clay. And everybody's probably had Play-Doh or clay at one point. And what I did when I didn't have that much of clay is found that I had a lot of paper and a lot of plastic already in my house. And every week it would pile up and I would throw it away, or I would recycle it at my grocery store. You see those tins outside the grocery where they put the bags, the paper, and the plastic? What my neighbors started doing, once I got this idea, they bring their bags to me now. So it's just like somebody bringing you your clay or bringing you your wood if you were a carpenter. Not only does it save you money, that stuff that would have been buried in a landfill somewhere is now a big shoe for your mom, or it's an elephant for your grandpa, or something like that, that sort of thing. And by being able to use stuff that we already have laying around our house, we can always be sculpting, always be making some kind of visual artwork, and be able to not only say we made it ourselves, but generally when we made it from something that somebody doesn't appreciate, they really appreciate it. These are some examples, as Cindy said, or Miss Williams said, of different things, but keeping in mind the animals that you're working on. I see back here it looks like a horse and fish, some different things.
Hippocampus, yeah, they're
we can make, like a marionette puppet, we can make it jointed with coat hangers, simple dry cleaning coat hanger. We can clip that and make it bendable so that not only does he bends, you can shape his arms or the way he stands, but you could also make it so that it swings. You know what I mean? So in regard to the animals that you're particularly working on, think of questions if you have as I'm talking you through the process about, well, how would we do this or how would we do that? Because a lot of times it's an easy process to pick up, and even if you don't have an idea in mind, just by holding bags in your hand, you usually start to get a feel for it. And like clay, you start to work it. And for example, the little pig here, he's one of my favorites to make. They don't ever come out the same, which is another fun part of artwork. You never make the same two things for two people, but their own, you know what I mean? People get a kick out of that. I make the bean of his body, and that's really simple. Just by wadding a bag full of bags up, and that could be one trip to the grocery store for us. We're pretty big eaters. We have 4 cats, so you get a lot of cat food. I get tape online, but you can make a pretty good sized piece, maybe even bigger, with just one roll of tape. And usually your parents keep masking tape. I find it best because it's inexpensive. It breaks down. If this were to be buried in the landfill, it'll break down before the bags would have. And it's easy to work with once you start to shape. And I can already see that pig starting. Everybody, just one piece of tape and I can already see that little pig's body. And I made him kind of like a bean. So what I'll do now is walk around and just show you. Pull several pieces off so I don't have to stand and pull. Or if you're working in tandem, if you're working with a friend, it's always fun. They can pull the tape, you can tape for a while, vice versa, switch back and forth. And I just start giving him a pretty good little shell. I might move the tape in a different direction to make sure his butt stays round, because then I can, like, they're always cute with the little ham on the back, little booty. And then the ears, what I do with other things, as well as the coat hanger, If I'm having cereal, I'm snacking on while I'm making it, I'll take and empty the box out. Inside that box is usually a bag. Everybody notice that? That gets me mad. I don't know why it has to have a bag and a box, but the box comes in handy. And I cut their ears, and you can just lay one over and cut the second just like it. So you've got your template right there, and with little pieces of wire, little pieces of chopstick. Let me pull this out and show you what I've done very simply. I take the cardboard around it, one little move on the chopstick, take my scissor and give him a nice little lobotomy, and then right down in there with the ear, and then with a piece of tape. Can everybody see where I'm at?
The deer's in the way.
The deer's in the way.
There.
Sorry about that. You guys can pass these around to get a feel for it.
You can't break them.
They're literally, once something is finished, as you can see, it's like a football. You can squeeze it and it goes right back into shape because it's those bags. This is a cereal box that I cut for his fins and his dorsal fin. And with fishing line, I made him so that he would hang. You can use it with the other, or you can use it separately. In about 20 minutes, you've got that shape going, and then you start to refine it by squeezing here and adding another piece of tape. See what I mean? And it starts to shape just like clay. You'll start to feel it. And all you really need to cover it, you don't want to go through a whole lot of tape because you'd be wasting tape at that point. And our idea not only is to make beautiful artwork, we want to save stuff instead of throwing it away. So you want to use as little tape as you can. And so you get one good layer of tape, and once he's covered with the tape, you're ready to paint. So it's not a hard process. You're not going through paper mache of all. The tails of the mermaids I make out of palm fronds that you find in the yards, like Miss Sweden has over here. They make pretty fish tails, mermaid tails. I've done fairy wings out of them. So everything that you look at, you think, how in the world could that turn into art? And you're not really recycling as much as you are upcycling. You're taking something that normally somebody would stick in the trash, and you're turning it up into art. Not just into art, but up into art. With the legs, what I do is, with my cereal box, or as you can see, I had Danish this morning, so I would just basically trim a piece off here, and this, as I see the segmented legs of the horse, by taking something that's already in a shape that you pretty much want to use in your design. You don't have to trim so much, you don't have to cut so much. And again, you can have your partner working on this while you're taping or while you're painting. So one project can be done by 2, 3 people and it still be a major undertaking and a masterpiece, even though 3 people worked on it. Very unique because each person had their own role. By rolling these up after just trimming them a little bit, a piece of my tape. With the pigs, what I do is after I've rolled it, everybody see what I'm doing? I just wrap the tape around, just like you roll like a cardboard rolling. What other things have a shape like this that's already rolled like this? Toilet paper roll. You can already got your pig's legs right there without having to cut anything, but you can see how I turned my Danish box into one of his legs.
How did you make her hair?
Her hair, which is probably, if you have a horse or any animal with a mane or hair, I've used Spanish moss. I've used, if you ever see those hula skirts at the party store, you can actually use those for hair and they make beautiful long flowing hair. Now hers, with this mermaid, actually Michael, my partner, made this mermaid. He just took a bag, taped it to her head and twisted it over a coat hanger so you can shape which way her hair goes. It can be straight, her arms can move. But as you can see, if I wanted some long flowing hair, all I have to simply do, this one actually, I had an old soiled t-shirt, so most of her is a t-shirt. Most of her body and her head is t-shirt material. I just sort of folded it and taped it instead of bunching the bag. The very same process, but again, you can see I've used another piece of something that would have been thrown away because it was no longer wanted by most people, and turned it into a fun piece that a little old lady out on the beach is going to give me $25 for a friend of hers as a gift. So by making it out of inexpensive stuff, I can keep little old ladies happy out on the beach. What I'll do with this, just to show you the hair process that we put on that mermaid. Like you have a natural hairline across the front when you go to brush your hair, I simply put a piece of tape over that.
Watch. Some of you have hair on your figures. You want to know how to do this.
Another piece of tape there, flatten it back out, and I'll do a little more detailed work to her face later on. And the hair doesn't just come from the top of our head, it comes from behind our ears, so I might pull it down. And you can already see how that hair is long and flowing. And by putting it a wire inside, I can even shape it to flow it. You want to cover most of the bag because when you go to paint it, you want one texture. By taping the complete surface with one good layer of tape. You don't want to go through too much. If you make a piece of this and you've used 2 or 3 rolls, you're probably got a little OCD. You need to back off the tape. But again, just by twisting and wrapping and making sure the ends are down and squeezing, I can shape it now just like clay, and it's coming out just like the other once it's painted. And you do want to cover all the bag, all the t-shirt, or all whatever you've used to shape. And again, I use for their eyeballs, I use old Christmas ornaments. I use gumball machine, the eggs at the store that has the little trinkets in them, the rings and things. Those make perfect eyes for the big horses and zebras and elephants when they make the big ones. But when you do the jointed legs, you can either by taking the length of the leg that you want of your horse, of your animal. I don't know what scale or size that you're going to be making them. But with this method, even if you made a horse life size, you could probably, 2 or 3 people pick it up because it's all this plastic. If it were wood, if it were ceramic, if it were anything else, you wouldn't be able to do that simply because of the weight. But by doing this, I took an old floor lamp and made the wedding planner I work next to a carousel horse. Wings, mop for its mane, all kinds of bling. And she can pick it up and move it inside and out because it's so lightweight. But you just want, like I said, total but light coverage of the tape, making sure the ends are down. You don't want a lot of it sticking up. After a piece is finished, you want it as flat and as nice and as polished looking as you can. So if you have tape sticking up, you'll go back and you'll have to trim. And you basically want to do it before you paint it.
So you're kind of grabbing bags and using them, right?
Grabbing, adding,
okay.
Shaping. If it wasn't solid enough, if this part was fatter and this part is thinner, and I don't like that, all I have to do is take another bag and make an opening and stick more bags down inside there, and it makes it the same thickness. And by doing it on a coat hanger, again, you can shape your horse's legs so he's running backwards. You can make him in segments with this string. The dolphins had the fishing wire. If you wanted, you could take segments. By taking your horse and doing him in segments this way, once you get your basic shape going, and for me, something pretty good size like your hippocampus.
Yeah.
Would probably the basic shape would take about an hour, and you already see where you're going with it. You see how you want his tail to go. You probably start brainstorming about what that tail would be made out of. Would you use plastic? Would you use paper? Would you use plastic bags? You think, well, that looks like scales. How would we make scales but not go crazy hot with the scales? And you start brainstorming and think of already things you have. Like, what would be a good thing to make scales from? Can anybody think? What would you think?
Construction paper.
Construction paper's a good idea.
Water bottle caps.
Water bottle caps, very good idea. Yes, sir. Paper's a good idea. Yes, ma'am.
Leaves.
Leaves is a fantastic idea.
Buttons.
Buttons, what a really good idea.
Shelves.
Shells, fantastic. People love to see. And I don't know if this creature is, I guess it's aquatic because it has the fish tail. That's where it lives. So shells would be a perfect addition to it. And who knows, because it's already a hybrid of some sort, you could mix buttons and shells and bottle caps, anything you can find. And by having a container at home on top of the fridge, Mom, everything around about this size you come across, I want to keep. You know what I mean? And she won't realize how much art materials she's throwing away too. And once she starts thinking in those terms, you'll be an artist and you'll have all your materials paid for. By making the horse, instead of going up this wire, if you wanted to segment it like a marionette, simply do them in segments. And then with the, where's it?
The dolphin. Kira, it's got it, yeah.
If you can see the fishing wire that I've used there, by going up by taking little bits of fishing wire, and your grandfather probably has this out in the garage for one reason or another, maybe he fishes, who knows, and simply putting a little piece of tape there. How many animals are you working on?
20.
Oh, I see. I've done unicorns and I've done mermaids, which are mythological. I've done, never have done a scimitar. I'll show you just a second how I make.
You'll have to come see them when we get done. We're going to have them in a zoo.
Oh, I'll definitely want to come back to see them. Instead of going up the
Oh,
wire.
look at how cool.
This is for those of you who've got the legs, the segmented legs for horses and all right, you can lie it.
You know,
Yeah.
Instead of going up the wire, if you do it in segments, you'll have his bones just like a skeleton. I don't know if that
Oh,
saw
neat.
something segmented back there, but you can make it tighter so that it still dangles if he's hanging.
You know, it'd be cool if the girls are so brave enough to get like a little haircut. They could use real hair for like a horse's mane or
There you
something.
go.
That'd be neat. You could brush it.
I like the plastic idea.
What I've done after I've made my leg and stuffed it, and it doesn't have to be this round, it can be thinner with a chopstick, it can be fatter with an old t-shirt, but I make the leg the way I want, and I'll put it here on the top so everybody can see it's an odd leg. What I do is I go down the side and onto the body, making a
Real
joint.
careful. Look at this.
Everybody
It's
see the
really
joint?
important.
What I did is I put it down the leg and on the body. And then on the opposite side, I do the same. I go down the leg and down the body. And basically by doing that 4 times, I've sealed it on pretty well to where it's going to hold and create that joint. His knee, his hip, his elbow, whatever joint you're making here is pretty sealed on there. See what I've done? I basically mounted it by taping to the leg and the body, and now to make it even more secure and to cover the split there, I'll go around. And by doing that, you're making it look neater, and you're securing the tape. Not only will I go around the leg, I'll go around the body, so it has a seamless, more durable. With the wings, what I did is, you see that one normal coat hanger that I had, what I did was I cut it off. So I have my already wings ready. This can attach to the body, and what I did was made a loop so that when you tape that to the back of your creature, the back of an angel, a fairy, you've got more coverage. You've got 2 pieces that it's covering instead of the 1, so it gives a little more structure. With the pig, what I've done, after I've taped, and this is parchment paper, Mom bakes on it. Makes cookies or lines her cake pans with parchment paper. You could use wax paper. What other kind of paper do we get usually thrown away every day?
Like aluminum foil too.
Aluminum foil could do it. What about?
If you throw away some foil, I'm thinking back on the question you asked, you use it for scales because it has like
That sounds a really good idea too, and that's actually shapeable.
Yeah,
Where you can make it into little cups if you want to get that detailed. We throw away newspapers every day. You can make your wings out of shredded newspaper or torn newspaper. That would be a beautiful wing because it has that sort of lightweight texture. And what I need you to do when you go to making your projects is not just decide on what you want to make and how you want to make it. When you start looking at ordinary products and ordinary things around you, you think, you know what that would make? I would never saw it like that before, but that would make a good eye, or that would make a good scale. With the wings, what I did with the pig, and people like pigs that fly, so what I did was I just cut a hole in his back and made sure there was a clear channel, and just, so now he goes from a pig to a hen that flies. But by doing your paint job on top, you're actually adding to the sculpture. Sometimes by putting lighter on top, it looks like the sun shining on it. By making it dark underneath, it shows shadow when there's no shadow. And by working that way, if you didn't achieve it with the sculpture itself, you can get that face on there just with the paint alone that you're doing on top. Again, the eyes are a very big feature of any creature. The ears, everybody has distinctive ears one way or another. That's how we know most things. They could be of the same family, but the length of their ears tells us what they are. The mouth, how big and how long a mouth is very important. Like with the dolphin here, what happened with him, I sprayed him completely black. Now, spray paint isn't a great thing, but it's a quick thing to use. Always with Mom and Dad supervision. But I sprayed him black, and then with a dry paintbrush, just took and went over the edges. So it just hits here and there, as you can see. It picks up the paint here and there. I leave some of it darker. And that's something I just learned to play with. I wanted his underbelly to be darker, like that's where it didn't get rust on it. The top, where the water's been flowing over this piece of metal underneath the ocean, it got a lot of water, so it even got lighter and lighter rust. So I changed the color of my paint on my dry brush. Sometimes I want them to look real. Where's the frog? The big frog? There's a lady that wanted, she loves frogs, so what I did was, of course, this is all coat hanger. And just lots of the bag on the ends of the coat hanger. Gumball machine eggs for the eyes that you get the little rings and things in. And this one actually, it hangs on the wall. She hangs it on her wall in her kitchen. And you could do little tongues catching flies. You could do all kinds of things. And with creatures, the eyes are very distinctive for most creatures. And since you're making chimera or mixed animals, I bet you could play around and have some really good ideas for the eyes, making them even more outrageous than they normally would be. By using, like I said, old Christmas ornaments, these things, different things. I'm trying to think, what else in your house might get thrown away? Anybody have a burnout light bulb ever? Light bulbs, they might if you're working carefully.
The egg trays, you cut out the
egg cartons, exactly. I bet you go through a dozen eggs a week to make the eyes out of the eggs. The deer I mounted to a piece of wood I got at Michael's that they make the plaques out of. But again, if Dad's got some shingles laying around, you got an old, I don't know, cardboard box, you could just make the back there. I made this one for Christmas and had Christmas ornaments hanging on it. And the the eyes I just trim in paintbrush. Or you can take an old broom. If your mom has an old broom she's going to throw away, if you take the ends off the broom with the scissors and just stick them inside there, you turn that broom and it makes it look so much more realistic if you see, just because she has eyelashes.
Do you actually use like Mod Podge or do you make your own decoupage?
No, I haven't gone as far as to make my own decoupage. However, I could see eventually becoming so poor. We do a lot of upcycling of paints and things that people donate, so we save so much money there. It's about the only expense of the process, that and the tape that we buy. And I'll let everybody know it's best not to get dollar store tape. Get at least a decent tape. Principle, if you're adding a head, I usually have some sort of wire. Either wire If I have this wire sitting at the top, you're going to be sure that it never breaks off, unless you want it to. It never comes off. And then by shaping a ball on the end of it with tape, basically what I did is I went with another. Again, I don't have to use the T-shirt I had. I just take. And you want to get an idea of scale. And again, the word scale means your size. You don't want a huge head on a little body. Now with your creatures, it might be okay to get things out of proportion a bit, and everybody still say, "Oh, I know what you're doing there," because they're weird animals. But when I'm doing a head, I try to get it in scale or proportion to the body. And what I've done is just wadded up a bunch of bags again. No mind to the shape yet. And I just want to attach it to this wire, just to get it on there. And once you get her head taped on, then you can sort of see where I'm going with it. See what I'm doing? Now what I'll do is I'll take another bag.
Once you have the head on, how would you get, like, a nose?
That's right, he's finishing.
Something bigger, you can, let me show you how we would attach the head. Because I guess everybody's creature's going to have a head of some sort. And by leaving, like I said, extra wire, extra dowel, extra chopstick for the head to hold on to, as you see here. Now what I'm going to do is cover the wire up her neck. I put my bag on here. I'm wrapping her neck around. And covering that up. Right.
So your face has kind of some features, and that's all you're going to need.
She's starting to get features now just naturally by the way I've started shaping the face. To get your head started, I would lay something about the size you're going to want your finished product, and I would start working on the mane in layers before you worked on the face. If you layer it that way, once you get the head on, it'll have the natural mane instead of trying to go behind and stick in, do you know what I mean? So get something about the size you want your head to be at the end. And layer whatever, like either mops. You could take old T-shirts and cut them into shreds, and with some tape them in layers over top of each other, and it'll have that same sort of.
Because I never really thought of the plastic bags my mom brings home from Publix as the really cool mermaid he made and the palm fronds that I have in my yard, and it's just really cool to think that if you have like a bunch of ordinary things and a bunch of like things people consider trash, and you can turn it into something really cool, and it's also really good for the earth, and so it's like a win-win.
Well, when I heard about this project, I thought that we were just going to be using just like plastic bags and painting it. I didn't really know how it was going to work, so going to this made me like understand, and now like I can look around and say, oh, I could use that for my mermaid tail, and he really helped me understand it. I lost an earring, and it's sort of like a marble, so I just sort of threw it away because I only had one, and now I thought that I could use it for like an eye, so that would have been cool.
I had an old clip, and my sister was playing with it, and it was one of my favorite clips, and I liked it, and it had like a pearl on the top, but she broke it, and I was like, oh well, it's ruined. and I just threw it away when it could have been pretty useful because it was like a swirly design and I could have used that. So I would have, if this had been earlier, I probably would have thought, oh, I could use this pearl as her eye maybe and paint it green or do something with it. And this is like, it's good that we know what we can do with all this stuff now. That way we can kind of save things before we throw them away, and it's just good to know.
I'm doing a Pegasus, and it's going to be white and it has wings and it's sparkly, so I like that. And he actually talked about how you make a horse, and I thought that was cool that we could actually like move it and like all the joints, and it could be like, and I wanted mine to be sort of flying, so he said I could like stand it up and maybe put fishing string. And my dad and my brother sometimes fish, so we could use, like, I never would have thought that I could use that stuff. And I think that it's really cool how they're super like durable. Like he could throw it like a football and it would just be fine. And it's sort of like a pillow, like a stuffed animal. And it was so cool because you could like put them, like he said that he has some in his shop that are like, you put fishing line and they're sort of like people with balloons and they're floating.
It's still really cool that we get to be the first ones to do this new kind of way and technique of making art.